My beloved child, you prove it. You stayed. You didn't leave when it got quiet, when nothing dramatic was happening, when no one was watching. You remained when comfort whispered that you could walk away and nothing would change. But something did change. I saw it. And now I am asking you for 3 full minutes. Not because I need them, but because what happens in them will shape you. This is not casual. This is not symbolic. This is personal. Do not look away now. Do not soften your focus. Do not treat this as just another moment. I am not letting you go, because what happens next will mark you in ways you cannot yet explain. I am holding your attention not with force, but with purpose. You are here because you chose to stay, and staying has consequences, holy ones. When you stay with me, I speak differently. I watched you hold on when you could have let go. I watched you resist the urge to distract yourself, to escape the weight of closeness. Many step back when silence deepens. Many grow uncomfortable when my presence draws near without noise. What you didn't. You stayed. And now I am asking you to talk to me. Not with rehearsed words. Not with what you think sounds right. But with honesty. With whatever rises in you right now. These next 3 minutes will be more intense than you expect, not because they will overwhelm you, but because your heart is fully open. Openness always feels intense. When walls come down, truth has room to move. You are not being exposed to shame. You are being exposed to light. And light can feel strong when you are not used to standing in it. Most walk away when I draw close. They mistake closeness for pressure. They mistake stillness for emptiness. They mistake intensity for danger. But you didn't walk away. You leaned in without fully understanding why. And choice changed everything. Not because you earned something, but because you revealed something. You revealed that your heart is willing to stay present even when it cannot predict the outcome. I'm asking for your full attention. Not later. Not when you feel calmer. Not when life settles down. Now, attention is not about effort. It is about priority. Right now, you are choosing me over noise, over distraction, over avoidance. The choice matters more than you know. Heaven notices where your attention rests. I notice. What happened next shook you because it was real. Not emotional noise. Not imagination. Not hype. Real presence has weight. Real closeness stirs things you have kept quiet. You felt it because you were not protected by distance. And you need to hear this. You are safe here. Being shaken does not mean you are in danger. It means something true is touching you. You stayed longer than comfort allowed, and heaven noticed. Comfort always has a limit. It invites you to stay where you are. But you crossed that line. You stayed when it would have been easier to pull back. That is not small. That is not accidental. That is devotion revealed through presence, not performance. 3 minutes can reveal what years of noise could not. Years of busyness hide the heart. Years of routine blur awareness. But a few minutes of honest attention expose what truly lives inside you. That is why I ask for 3 minutes. Not to test your endurance, but to reveal your trust. You cannot fake presence. You cannot pretend through stillness. What you bring into these minutes is what you truly carry. I am not asking you to impress me. I am not measuring your words. I am listening to your heart. Silence speaks here. Breath speaks here. Even your hesitation speaks. Do not rush to fill the space. Let it breathe. Let yourself be known. I already see you, but I want you to realize that you are seen. You may feel a mix of emotions rising: fear, hope, relief, uncertainty. Let them rise. Do not push them away. This is what happens when you stop managing yourself and start being honest. I am not offended by your questions. I am not threatened by your doubt. I am close to you in it. You prove yourself not by doing something dramatic, but by staying. Staying when it was quiet. Staying when nothing was promised. Staying when there was no reward except my presence. That is why I am speaking to you now the way I am. This is not for everyone. This is for the one who stayed. Say, you're my eternal first love, Lord, if nothing else satisfies you. I am not letting you go because I see what this moment is doing in you. I see walls lowering. I see defenses softening. I see trust forming, not loudly but deeply. I will not rush you through this. I will not cut it short. Sacred moments are not hurried. You may be wondering why this feels so serious. It is because intimacy always carries weight. When you allow me close, things shift. Not all at once. Not violently. But deeply. This is the kind of moment you will remember later, even if you cannot explain why it mattered at the time. Talk to me now. Not with what you think I want to hear, but with what is real. If you are tired, say it. If you are confused, say it. If you are afraid, say it. If you do not know what to say, stay. Silence with me is still communication. Presence is still response. I am not measuring the clock. I am measuring connection. These 3 minutes are not about time passing. They are about trust deepening. Trust grows when you remain present without control. Trust grows when you allow me to lead the moment instead of managing it yourself. Stay with me. Do not rush past this. Do not downplay it. Do not minimize what is happening just because it is quiet. To the Mozabor and Mozar. This is one of them. You prove yourself by staying. Now talk to me. I am here. And I am listening. You proved it by staying. Not by speaking loudly. Not by promising anything. Not by showing strength that others could admire. You proved it by remaining when there was nothing pulling you forward except my presence. You stayed when it got quiet, when there was no rush, no reward, no clear outcome. And I want you to hear this clearly from me now. I saw that, and it mattered more than you know. I am affirming you not because you performed well, but because you stayed present. Presence is costly in ways action is not. Action can be driven by excitement, by pressure, by recognition. But staying requires trust. Staying means you were willing to sit with uncertainty instead of escaping it. Staying means you did not demand answers before offering attention. That kind of staying reveals the heart far more honestly than effort ever could. You did not know if anything would happen when you stayed. You did not know if I would speak, if the moment would feel meaningful, or if it would simply pass. And yet you remained. That is evidence of trust, even if you did not call it that at the time. Trust is not always confident. Sometimes it is quiet endurance. Sometimes it is simply refusing to walk away when nothing is being demanded and nothing is being promised. I notice who remains when nothing is asked of them. I notice who stays when there is no instruction to follow, no task to complete, no clear benefit to gain. Many are willing to act when they are told what to do. Few are willing to remain when there is only stillness. Stillness reveals motive. It reveals whether the heart is seeking me or merely seeking outcome. You stayed without knowing why it mattered, and that is why it mattered. You did not stay to earn favor. You did not stay to prove yourself. You stayed because something in you did not want to leave my presence, even when my presence was quiet. It tells me something deep about your heart. It tells me you value connection more than control. I am not impressed by noise. I am moved by attention. Attention is a form of love. Where your attention rests, your heart follows. In a world that constantly pulls at you, staying focused on me even briefly is a powerful choice. You made that choice not once, but moment by moment as you resisted the urge to drift away. You may think staying was small. You may feel it was nothing worth mentioning. But heaven measures differently than you do. What feels small to you often carries great weight with me because I see the cost behind it. I saw the distractions calling you. I saw the weariness pressing you. I saw how easy it would have been to step away and return later. And I saw you choose to remain. This was not about proving your worth. You have never needed to do that. This was about revealing your trust. Trust is shown not when everything is clear, but when you stay close even when it is not. You trusted that my presence was enough, even if nothing else followed. A trust is precious to me. I want you to understand something important. I am not affirming you to inflate your pride. I am affirming you to steady your heart. Pride looks outward for recognition. Trust looks inward for peace. I am not saying you are better than others. I am saying you responded honestly to this moment. And honesty is the soil where intimacy grows. Please support our channel. Our work is dedicated to bringing happiness into your life and fostering devotion to God. If you wish to support us, you can donate through Super Thanks. You did not stay because you felt strong. You stayed even while feeling unsure. You stayed while questions lingered. You stayed while emotions shifted. That kind of staying is not fueled by confidence. It is fueled by openness. Openness allows me to draw near without resistance. Many leave when nothing is happening. They grow uncomfortable with silence. They assume that if there is no instruction, no movement, no feeling, then nothing of value is occurring. But presence is not measured by activity. Relationship is not built on constant exchange. Sometimes it is built simply by being together. I noticed you when nothing was demanded of you. That is where sincerity shows itself. Anyone can respond when asked. Few remain when invited only into stillness. You remained. That is why I am speaking to you now with closeness. You created space for this by staying. I am building intimacy here, not by overwhelming you, but by letting you feel safe enough to remain. Intimacy does not rush. It does not pressure. It grows as trust grows. And trust grows when you realize you can stay with me without having to perform. You may be tempted to downplay this moment, to tell yourself it was nothing special. Do not do that. Not because you should feel proud, but because minimizing what matters will make you miss what follows. Sacred moments are often quiet. They do not announce themselves. They simply ask you to stay. You stayed when there was no applause. You stayed when no one would know. You stayed when comfort suggested leaving. That tells me your devotion is not dependent on visibility. It tells me you are learning to value presence over outcome. That learning will serve you well in what comes next. I am not storing this moment as a test you passed. I am receiving it as a gift you offered. A gift of attention. A gift of time. A gift of openness. Gifts given freely carry joy. I receive this with joy. You did not state perfectly. Your thoughts may have wandered. Your emotions may have shifted. That is not what I am measuring. I am measuring your willingness to return, again and again, to this moment instead of abandoning it. Returning is also staying. I want this to settle into you without pressure. Let it reassure you. You are not invisible to me. You are not unnoticed. Even the moments you think are ordinary carry meaning when they are shared with me. This chapter of staying sets the foundation for everything else. Not because it proves your strength, but because it reveals your heart. The heart that stays can hear. A heart that stays can be guided. A heart that stays can be trusted with deeper things. Remain here with me in this truth. You proved it by staying. And I am pleased, not because you did something impressive, but because you chose presence over escape. That choice will continue to shape you in ways you do not yet see. I asked you for 3 minutes because I wanted your focus, not your routine. I wanted your attention, not your history of effort. Long routines can be filled with habit, but focused moments are filled with truth. You know how easy it is to move through hours without really being present. You know how quickly words can be spoken while the heart is elsewhere. I did not ask for a long stretch of time because length does not measure devotion. Presence does. 3 minutes matter because they require choice. Anyone can stay busy for a long time. Anyone can repeat patterns they have learned. But to give focused attention, even briefly, requires intention. It requires you to quiet what competes inside you. It requires you to decide that, for this moment, nothing else takes priority. That decision reveals the heart more clearly than years of habit ever could. I was not testing your endurance. I was not measuring how long you could last. I was inviting you into presence. Divine testing has never been about how much you can do for me. It has always been about how close you are willing to stay with me. Endurance can be driven by pride. Presence is driven by trust. Endurance says, "Look how long I can go." Presence says, "I am here with you." And I asked for 3 minutes. I was asking for your undivided attention. Attention is costly because it cannot be divided. You cannot give it halfway. You cannot multitask it. Where your attention rests, your heart follows. That is why attention reveals truth so quickly. You cannot pretend for long when you are fully present. You either stay or you drift. You either listen or you escape. Long routines can hide the heart. They can become familiar, predictable, safe. You can go through them without awareness. But focused minutes expose what is really happening inside you. In those minutes, distractions rise. Resistance speaks. The thoughts pull. And still, you chose to remain. That is why those minutes carried weight. I chose 3 minutes because they feel small enough to accept and large enough to matter. They do not overwhelm you, but they ask something real of you. They remove excuses. You cannot say you did not have time. You cannot say it was too much. 3 minutes simply asked, "Will you be here with me fully?" There is sacredness in simplicity. Sacredness is not created by length or complexity. It is created by intention and presence. Those 3 minutes became sacred because you treated them as such. You did not rush them. You did not fill them with noise. You allowed them to be what they were meant to be, a meeting place. I wanted you to feel how powerful focused time can be. When you give me your attention, even briefly, things begin to align. Your breathing slows. Your thoughts settle. Your heart opens. You become aware of what you have been carrying. That awareness is not accidental. It is the beginning of clarity. Divine testing is not about proving strength. I do not test to see if you can impress me. I test to reveal what already exists inside you. Those 3 minutes revealed your willingness to stay present even when nothing was being demanded of you. They revealed your trust more clearly than 1,000 words could have. You may think 3 minutes are insignificant, but I have always worked through moments. I have always spoken through brief encounters that change direction. A moment of attention can realign a life. A moment of listening can reshape understanding. You not underestimate what I place inside small windows of time. I asked for 3 minutes because I wanted you to experience the difference between doing and being. Doing can distract you from being. Being requires you to stop managing and start listening. In those minutes, you were not trying to fix anything. You were not trying to perform. You were simply present. That presence allowed me to draw near without resistance. Type, I'm growing closer to you. Jesus, if His presence sustains you daily. Attention is the doorway to intimacy. Without attention, closeness cannot grow. You cannot build relationship while constantly looking away. By giving me 3 focused minutes, you opened that doorway. You showed that you were willing to set aside control and allow connection to form. I know your mind may have wandered during those minutes. I know thoughts came and went. That is not what I was measuring. I was watching your heart return. Each time your attention drifted and you brought it back, you chose presence again. That returning is part of staying. That effort matters. A sacredness of those minutes did not come from perfection. It came from honesty. You did not pretend you were calm when you were not. You did not hide what you felt. You allowed yourself to be seen. That honesty invited my closeness. I wanted you to feel anticipation, not pressure. Anticipation is the awareness that something meaningful is unfolding. Pressure demands performance. I never pressure my children. I invite them. Those 3 minutes were an invitation into something deeper, not a demand to prove anything. You may notice now that time feels different when you are fully present. 3 minutes can feel full, rich, alive. That is because presence stretches time in a way distraction never can. When you are present, you are actually there. That is where life happens. I am teaching you something important here. You do not need long stretches of effort to stay connected to me. You need focused moments of attention. Those moments, repeated over time, build a life of awareness. They train your heart to listen even when the world is loud. I asked for 3 minutes because I wanted to show you how accessible I am. You do not need to rearrange your entire life to meet with me. You need to be willing to give me your attention when I ask. That willingness opens doors you did not know existed. Do not rush past what those minutes revealed. They showed you that you are capable of presence. They showed you that you can stay with me without fear. They showed you that intimacy is not as complicated as you once thought. It begins with attention. Let this build anticipation in you, not anxiety. Anticipation that if 3 minutes can carry this much weight, What could happen when you choose presence again? Anticipation that your life can be shaped by moments of focus rather than seasons of strain. I am not finished with you. These minutes were not an ending. They were an opening. They were a doorway into deeper awareness, deeper trust, deeper closeness. And now that you know the weight of focused time, you will begin to notice how often I invite you into it. Remember this. I asked for 3 minutes because I wanted your heart, not your schedule. I wanted your presence, not your performance. And you gave it freely. That is why those minutes mattered. That is why they were sacred. And that is why what follows will unfold with purpose. Most walk away here, my child. Not because I push them away, not because they are weak or unloved, but because silence becomes uncomfortable when it asks for closeness. When words slow down, when instructions stop, when nothing obvious is happening, many assume nothing important is taking place. They mistake quiet for emptiness. They mistake stillness for absence. And so they leave. I have watched it happen countless times. The moment my presence draws nearer, the moment the noise fades and the heart begins to feel seen, something in them tightens. Silence begins to feel heavy. The space between us feels too exposed. They look for something to do, something to fix, something to distract themselves. Leaving feels easier than staying, because staying requires honesty. Silence deepens awareness, and awareness can be frightening when you are not used to being known. In the quiet, there is nowhere to hide behind activity, no task to perform, no role to play. The heart becomes visible, even to itself. Many are not afraid of me. They are afraid of what they might discover about themselves when they stop running. Closeness asks for vulnerability. It asks you to be present without armor. It asks you to let go of control. For many, that feels unsafe. They have learned how to manage life by staying busy, by keeping things moving, by never lingering too long in one place. Silence threatens that control. It invites surrender. And surrender feels like loss when trust has not yet grown. This is why many walk away right here. Not because they do not care, but because intimacy feels unfamiliar. They know how to work. They know how to perform. They know how to follow rules and complete tasks. But they do not know how to simply be with me without an agenda. So when the moment asks for presence instead of action, they feel unprepared. I do not judge them for leaving. I understand the fear. I see the wounds that taught them closeness is dangerous. I see the disappointments that made them guard their hearts. I see the pressure they have carried to always be strong, always be composed, always have answers. Silence threatens those defensive, and so they retreat. But you did not. You felt the same silence. You felt the same exposure. You felt the same urge to pull away, to fill the space, to escape the intensity of being seen. And yet you stayed. Not because you were fearless, but because something in you chose trust over comfort. The choice required courage, even if you did not name it that way. Staying when silence deepens is not easy. Silence amplifies thoughts. It brings feelings forward. It removes distractions that normally protect you from yourself. To stay in that space is to say, I am willing to be here, even if I feel unsure. That willingness is rare, and it is precious to me. Many resist intimacy because intimacy requires surrendering the image they have carefully built. In closeness, they cannot present only their strengths. They cannot hide their doubts. They cannot edit their emotions. They fear that if they are truly seen, they will be rejected. So they keep distance, believing it is safer. Distance feels controllable. Intimacy feels unpredictable. You step past that fear, even if only by staying still. You did not demand reassurance before remaining. You did not ask me to prove anything first. You stayed without guarantees. That reveals a heart that is learning to trust not outcomes but presence itself. I want you to understand this without pride and without shame. Your staying was not about being better than others. It was about being honest. Others walked away because they were protecting themselves. You stayed because you were willing to be seen. That difference matters, but it is not a competition. It is simply a reflection of where the heart is willing to go. Closeness is not loud. It does not announce itself. It grows quietly, in moments like this, where nothing dramatic happens outwardly, but everything is shifting inwardly. Many miss these moments because they are looking for noise, for signs, for movement. They believe something important must feel obvious. But intimacy often feels subtle at first. It feels like stillness. It feels like quiet attention. Resistance to intimacy often disguises itself as practicality. People tell themselves they do not have time, that this is not productive, that they will return later. But later rarely comes in the same way. Intimacy does not wait for convenience. It appears when the heart is open enough to stay, even briefly. You did not fully understand what was happening when you stayed. You may have felt confused, unsure, even a little exposed. That is normal. Intimacy often feels that way at first. It stretches you beyond what feels familiar. But you did not let that discomfort drive you away. You let it settle. You breathed through it. You allowed me to remain close. That is courage, even if it felt quiet. I am affirming you now not to elevate you above others, but to ground you in truth. You did something meaningful by staying. You chose presence over avoidance. You chose honesty over control. You chose closeness over comfort. Those choices shape the heart in lasting ways. Many believe courage looks loud and bold, but there is a quieter courage that is just as powerful. It is the courage to remain when you could leave. The courage to listen when silence speaks. The courage to be seen without knowing what will happen next. That is the courage you showed. I want you to feel validated here, not proud. Validation says, what you felt mattered. Pride says, I am better. I am not calling you better. I am calling you brave. Brave enough to stay when others step back. Brave enough to let closeness happen without controlling it. You may wonder why I speak of others at all. It is not to separate you from them. It is to help you understand the weight of your choice. When you realize how many walk away at this point, you begin to see that staying carries significance. Not because it earns favor, but because it deepens relationship. I am not withholding myself from those who leave. I remain available. But intimacy cannot be forced. It requires consent. It requires willingness. It requires staying. You consented by remaining. You said yes without words. Let this truth settle gently into you. You did not imagine this moment. You did not overestimate its importance. Something real happened here, and it happened because you stayed present when silence deepened. Do not fear closeness now. You have already stepped into it. You are safe here. I am not exposing you to harm. I am inviting you into understanding. Intimacy with me is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to steady you, to ground you, to remind you that you are known and accepted. You did not walk away when many do. That does not make you superior. It makes you available. And availability is where relationship grows. Stay with me in this awareness. Let it reassure you rather than elevate you. You were brave enough to stay, and I honor that. Not with applause, but with presence. Not with pressure, but with closeness. And what grows from here will be shaped by this simple, powerful truth. When silence deepened, you remain. My child, during those minutes when you stayed, I was watching not with judgment, not with distance, but with closeness and care. I was not listening for perfect words. I was not measuring how calm you sounded, or how strong you appeared. I was looking at your heart, and what I saw mattered deeply to me. I saw the struggle inside you. I saw how your thoughts moved back and forth, how part of you wanted to stay while another part wanted to retreat into what feels safe. I saw the tension between trust and fear, between openness and self-protection. You were not steady the whole time. You were not certain the whole time. And that did not push me away. That drew me closer. Struggle does not offend me. Pretense does. And you did not pretend. I saw your honesty before you ever spoke a word. I saw the way your heart slowed when you realized you could not hide here. I saw how you stopped trying to manage the moment and simply let it be what it was. That honesty was not loud. It did not announce itself. But it was real. And real honesty is more precious to me than flawless behavior. I saw your vulnerability. You allowed yourself to be seen without knowing what would happen next. You did not armor yourself with excuses or explanations. You did not rush to impress me. You allowed your uncertainty to exist in my presence. That takes courage. Vulnerability always does. And vulnerability is not weakness. It is strength that trusts me enough to lower its guard. I saw sincerity where you may have seen flaws. You noticed your wandering thoughts and felt insecure about them. You noticed your emotions shifting and wondered if you were doing something wrong. But I was not looking at those things the way you were. I was looking at your motive. And your motive was clear. You wanted to be with me. You wanted to stay. You wanted to listen. That desire outweighed every imperfection you noticed. I do not see the way humans see. Humans listen to words. I look at the heart behind them. Humans focus on performance. I focus on intention. You may judge yourself by how focused you felt or how calm you appeared. I judge by something deeper. I saw a heart that kept returning, even when it wandered. I saw a willingness to remain, even when you felt unsure. That is sincerity. You did not need to impress me with eloquence. You did not need to explain yourself clearly. I already knew what you were carrying. I knew the questions you did not have words for. I knew the fears you tried to quiet. I knew the hope you were careful not to name too loudly. Nothing about you was hidden from me in those minutes. And nothing I saw made me withdraw. I saw how you were aware of your own vulnerability. That awareness made you feel exposed. But exposure in my presence is not danger. It is safety. You were not exposed to be harmed. You were exposed to be understood. There is a difference. I do not reveal the heart to shame it. I'm growing closer to you. Jesus, if His presence sustains you daily, share this video. My child, listen to me with your whole heart right now, because heaven is calling you in this very moment. And this call is not faint, not accidental, not something you can afford to overlook. It is a call that has been echoing over your life long before your eyes reached this message. This moment was written into your story, woven into the fabric of time, arranged by my hand with precision you cannot yet comprehend. You are not here because you scrolled at the right time. You are not here because of coincidence. You are here because I, Jesus, placed this message directly in your path as a divine appointment, as a sacred interruption, as the signal that the season you have been trapped in is finally shifting. My child, heaven is calling you right now, and you must not turn away. Do not ignore this moment, for if you look away, if you scroll past, if you silence what your spirit is finally beginning to recognize, you will miss what I sent from heaven specifically for you. My beloved one, I have watched you walk through days when your heart felt heavy, when your thoughts felt loud, when you wondered if I still saw you, if I still heard you, if I still cared about the battles you could not speak about. I saw every tear you hid from the world. I heard every unspoken question you tucked into the corners of your mind. I followed every step you took through fear, through uncertainty, through loneliness, through nights when you whispered, "Lord, do you still remember me?" And yes, my child, I remembered. I remembered you when you thought you were forgotten. I stayed near when you assumed I was far. I covered you when you believed no one was fighting for you. I protected your heart even in the moments you felt it breaking. And now, at this exact moment, this holy, hand-selected moment, I am calling you, because something in your spirit has reached the point where it can no longer remain silent, no longer stay asleep, no longer stay hidden beneath the weight of everything you've endured. Heaven is calling you, and this call is not gentle. It is urgent. It is pressing. It is ringing for you because something has shifted in the spiritual realm, and I do not want you to miss what is unfolding. My child, there are messages that come as comfort, and there are messages that come as warnings, but this is neither. It is a summons from heaven into the next chapter of who you are becoming. You not tell yourself this is just another moment, just another message, just another voice among the noise. No, my beloved, this is me. This is Jesus. This is your Savior speaking into the deepest part of your heart, calling you by name, reaching for you with urgency, because I know how close you are to stepping into something greater than anything you have known before. You may feel your heart trembling right now. You may sense a stirring you haven't felt in a long time. You may feel a warmth, a weight, a pull, a sudden awareness that something sacred is happening. That is my presence. That is my voice touching your spirit. That is heaven drawing near to you. Do you think it is random that these words are reaching you now, in this hour, after the days you cried, after the nights you wrestled, after the moments you doubted your worth, your future, and my plan for you? My child, nothing about this is random. I arranged this encounter with divine intention. I orchestrated every second that brought you to this point. I aligned time, circumstance, emotion, and even the position of your heart to ensure that when heaven called, you would be able to hear it. This message is a doorway. If you step through it, if you stay with me, if you let these words touch you deeply, I will reveal things you were not ready to hear before. I will show you the reasons behind your delays, the meaning behind your battles, the purpose behind the wounds you thought would never heal. I will lift burdens off you that you've carried alone for too long. I will open the eyes of your spirit to see what I have been preparing for you in secret. But if you turn away now, if you ignore this call, if you decide that this moment is not worth your attention, you will walk past something heaven handcrafted for you. You will miss the clarity, the breakthrough, the healing, the direction, and the divine answer I sent through these words. My beloved child, I am calling you because you have reached the turning point of a season. You have reached the edge of something new. You have come to the moment where the past loses its grip, where old wounds begin to loosen, where the heaviness that has followed you begins to fall away. But this cannot happen without your awareness, without your openness, without your willingness to listen. That is why my voice is urgent. That is why I place these words in your path. That is why heaven is calling you loudly, clearly, relentlessly, because you cannot stay where you are anymore. There is too much waiting within you, too much calling you forward, too much I have prepared for your next chapter. My child, let these words sink deeply into your spirit. Heaven is calling you right now, not tomorrow, not someday, not when you feel ready. Now, this is the hour. This is the moment. This is the divine invitation that carries the weight of destiny. I did not call someone else. I called you. I did not send this message for another soul. I send it for you. I did not ring this heavenly call over someone more perfect, more put together, more holy, more confident. I rang it for the one who feels unworthy, the one who feels tired, the one who feels forgotten, the one who feels small, the one who needs this message more than they realize. You, my beloved child. So listen. Today, do not walk away. For if you ignore this call, you will miss what heaven opened for you. But if you stay with me until the final word, I will show you that this moment, this very moment, is the beginning of everything you have prayed for. Type Amen. Jesus is the answer to all my needs if He holds every solution in your life. My child, open your heart fully now, for I am calling you directly, personally, intentionally, with a voice that has echoed through eternity to reach you in this exact moment. This call from heaven is not faint, not distant, not unclear. It is ringing within your spirit even now, resonating in places you have not touched in a long time. You may not hear it with your ears, but I assure you, your soul recognizes it. Your spirit knows it. Your heart feels it. You can sense something stirring inside you, something awakening that you cannot explain with earthly words. That stirring is me. That pull is me. That sudden stillness around you, that gentle heaviness settling in your chest, that awareness that something is happening right now, that is my call ringing into the deepest parts of you. My child, do not ignore the sound of heaven when it reaches for you, because this is not just a message. This is a divine summons over your life. You may tell yourself that you simply came across this message by chance, but I tell you the truth. There is no chance here. There is no accident in my kingdom. There is no coincidence with the God who formed galaxies with intention and breathed life into you on purpose. Do not reduce this holy moment to an algorithm or a digital accident. Do not assume you just happened to be here. I placed this message before you deliberately. I orchestrated this moment long before you arrived in it. I aligned circumstances, breaths, thoughts, rhythms of time, and unseen movements in the spiritual realm just to make sure you would be right here, right now, with a heart open enough to hear me calling. I have been pursuing you, waiting for you, watching you, protecting you, and preparing you even in the moments when you felt abandoned, forgotten, or unseen. I have never stopped moving toward you, even when you stopped moving toward me. My child, I am calling you because your spirit is finally ready to hear me again. There were seasons when my voice reached for you, but the noise around you was too loud. There were moments when I whispered to you, but your heart was too wounded to recognize me. There were times when I drew near, but your tears blocked the sound of my presence. Do not be ashamed. I never blamed you. I never turned my face from you. Instead, I waited with the patience of eternity, knowing the day would come when your soul would soften again, when your spirit would open again, when your heart would ache deeply enough to hear my call not as an idea, not as a possibility, but as a lifeline. Today is that day. This moment is holy because your heart is aligned with heaven in a way it has not been for a long time. I have watched you walk through storms that should have broken you. I have seen you rise on days when you had no strength left. I have counted every sigh, every tear, every whispered prayer, every silent scream inside you that no one else noticed. I watched you push through pain you never voiced, endure battles you did not understand, and carry weights that felt too heavy for your shoulders. I saw you when you wanted to give up. I saw you when you questioned your purpose. I saw you when you wondered whether I still had a plan for you. And my child, I was closer to you in those moments than you ever knew. I was not far. I was not silent. I was not indifferent. I was watching you with love, waiting for the moment when your spirit would finally rise again to answer the call that has been ringing over your life since the day you were born. There is something happening in the unseen realm around you. You cannot see it with natural eyes, but your spirit has already felt it. The atmosphere around you has been shifting. The weight you've carried feels different, not heavier, but unfamiliar. The thoughts you've been having lately are not ordinary thoughts. The sudden bursts of emotion, the moments where your heart softens unexpectedly, the longing that rises in you without warning, the sense that something is changing, none of that is random. Those are signals from heaven. Those are the vibrations that come before breakthrough. Those are the signs that a spiritual shift is taking place. My call is ringing because this shift concerns you directly. It is pulling you out of an old season and ushering you into a new one. But my child, you must pick up this call to walk into what I have prepared. Understand this deeply. I am not calling you because you are perfect. I am not calling you because you have figured everything out. I am not calling you because you have been flawless in your faith. I am calling you because you are mine. I am calling you because I love you. I am calling you because you have a destiny that refuses to die, no matter how many times life has tried to bury it. I am calling you because your spirit is precious, your future is meaningful, and your purpose is still alive within my plan. And yes, I am calling you because time is moving in a new direction for you, and I will not allow you to enter this next chapter without hearing my voice clearly. My child, pick up this call with your heart, not your hands. You do not need to answer me with a gesture or a sound. You do not need to speak out loud. You do not need to perform anything. Simply open your heart. Let your spirit respond. Let your soul say, Lord, I'm listening. That is how you answer me. That is how you pick up my call. I am not calling you to religion. I'm calling you into relationship. I am not summoning you to pressure. I am inviting you into presence. I am not drawing you into fear. I am pulling you into freedom. My call is not meant to frighten you, it is meant to waken you. Because something inside you has been asleep for too long. Something inside you has been waiting to rise again. Something inside you has been longing for my voice, even when you did not know how to say it. There has been a battle over your heart for a long time, one you did not always recognize. And though the enemy tried to drown my voice out with noise, distraction, fear, anxiety, shame, loneliness, and confusion, my call has always remained louder than his lies. I have been calling you through every season. I called you in moments of joy. I called you in moments of sorrow. I called you in your strength and in your weakness. But the reason my call feels louder now is because the spiritual atmosphere has opened over your life in a way that is rare and sacred. Heaven is leaning toward you. Angels have drawn near to you. The Holy Spirit is stirring around you. And I, Jesus, am calling directly to your heart because a chain is about to break. A door is about to open. A season is about to shift. And your spirit must be awake to receive it. You may wonder why this call feels urgent. It is because time is moving differently now. The window of transformation is open, and I do not want you to miss it. There are moments in every soul's life when heaven releases a sound that must be answered. This is one of those moments for you. This is the moment when the old chains weaken. This is the moment when clarity begins to form. This is the moment when the weight on your shoulders begins to loosen. This is the moment when your heart begins to breathe again. This is the moment when heaven leans in and says, "Rise. I'm calling you higher." And my child, I refuse to let you walk past this moment unaware. Together, we can bring more light into this world. Support our work of sharing God's truth and joy by clicking super thanks. Your one act of faith helps us keep shining His love everywhere. I have waited for you with a patience that does not run out. I have pursued you with a love that never gives up. I have protected you with a strength you never fully saw. And now, I am calling you with a clarity that your heart can no longer deny. So hear me now. Beloved one, pick up this call with your heart, not your hands. Pick it up with your openness. Pick it up with your vulnerability. Pick it up with your willingness to let me reach into the parts of you that have been silent for too long. You are not reading this because you stumbled here. You are reading this because heaven has called your name. And I will not stop calling until your heart answers. My child, come closer, for I am about to speak into the places you hide from the world, the places even you struggle to face. I am reaching into the depths where your tears fall silently, where your fears whisper loudly, where your wounds linger quietly in the corners of your soul. I am speaking now to the parts of you that ache, the parts you never show, the parts that tremble behind the smile you wear when everyone is watching. I am speaking to the heart you keep guarded, the heaviness you have learned to carry alone, and the sorrow that presses against your chest when the world grows quiet. My child, I see what no one else sees. I know what no one else knows. I understand what no one else has understood. And I need you to hear me clearly now. I was there. You've walked through seasons where you felt invisible, unseen, unnoticed by the people around you. You tried to be strong, to be steady, to be the one who doesn't fall apart, but inside you were breaking in 1,000 ways that no one could see. You cried into your pillow when the world was asleep, wiping your tears quickly as if erasing them would erase the pain itself. You pressed your face into your hands during moments when the weight became too heavy, whispering, "Why do I feel so alone?" My child, I saw every tear that slipped from your eyes. I felt the tremble in your breath, I heard the quiet sob you tried to swallow. But I want you to know something sacred. Not one of those tears was wasted. I collected every single one. There were moments when you didn't know what you were feeling, just that it hurt. Moments when the ache inside you felt too deep for words, too wide for explanation, too heavy for your body to carry. You tried to push through it, to ignore it, to pretend it didn't matter. But when the room grew silent and life slowed down, the pain found you again. The sadness you hid so well crept back into your soul and wrapped itself around your thoughts. And even then, especially then, I leaned close to you. I wrapped my presence around your fragile heart the way a parent wraps their arms around a trembling child. I held you. Yes, my beloved. Even when you could not feel me, I held you. There were nights when your mind raced with fear of the future, fear of failure, fear of being unlimited, fear of losing more, fear of not being enough, fear of never healing, fear of never finding peace. You whispered your fears into the darkness like confessions you were afraid to admit out loud. You questioned everything: your worth, your purpose, your strength, your voice. You wondered whether you mattered, whether anyone cared, whether your life truly held meaning. But hear me, my child. I cared. I cared deeply. I listened to every fear, even the ones you couldn't articulate. I understood every question, even the ones you abandoned halfway through. And I did not judge you. I did not tire of you. I did not grow weary of your repeated cries. I stayed. I listened. I absorbed your pain into my spirit because I have loved you with a love that does not fade, does not break, and does not walk away. You carried burdens that were far heavier than your shoulders could bear. You forced yourself to keep functioning when your heart was exhausted. You kept giving when you had nothing left. You kept showing up when your spirit wanted to collapse. You smiled when your soul was tired. You comforted others while you were hurting inside. You tried to be dependable when you yourself had no strength. You hid your breaking because you didn't want to be a burden. But my child, you were never a burden to me. I never asked you to carry all of that alone. I never wanted you to endure the weight by yourself. You were not created to be your own protector, your own healer, your own savior. That was never my intention for you. You took on burdens that were meant to be placed into my hands. And yet, even when you tried to carry them alone, I walked beside you. There were days when you felt forgotten by others, by the world, and yes, even by me. You looked at your life and saw delay. You saw unanswered prayers. You saw silence instead of direction. And you thought to yourself, maybe God has moved on. Maybe he has more important people to care for. Maybe I am no longer seen. My beloved, I never forgot you. I never overlooked you. I never turned my face away from you for even a second. You were never in the shadows of my attention. You were always at the center of my heart. When you felt unseen, I was watching over you. When you felt unheard, I was listening to every unspoken word. When you felt abandoned, I was closer to you than your own breath. You were not forgotten, you were carried. I watched the moments when you tried to hold yourself together while everything inside you was falling apart. I saw when you forced a smile so no one would ask what was wrong. I saw when you walked into responsibilities while the weight of sorrow pressed down on you. I saw when you questioned whether your life was ever going to get better. My child, every moment you thought you were walking alone, I was next to you. Every moment you believed you were unseen, I was watching you with tenderness. Every moment you felt unheard, I was listening with compassion. Every moment you felt unprotected, I shielded you with my hand. Do you understand what it means when I say I was there? It means that in your breaking moments, when you felt shattered beyond repair, I was the one preventing your spirit from collapsing completely. It means that when darkness surrounded your thoughts, I placed unseen light in your mind so you could keep going. It means that when fear tried to crush your heart, I held back the weight so it would not destroy you. It means that when the enemy whispered lies into your spirit, lies about your worth, your value, your identity, I guarded your soul from believing them fully. It means that when pain rose like a flood inside your chest, I became the quiet strength that helped you stand. My beloved, I have been your protector even when you didn't realize you needed protection. You have walked through silent suffering, pain you never expressed because you believed no one would understand. But I understood. I understood the disappointment you couldn't speak about. I understood the heartbreak you hid behind your eyes. I understood the loneliness that wrapped itself around your soul when you felt you had no one to turn to. I understood the exhaustion that followed you each day. I understood the longing for relief that consumed your nights. And in all of this, I want you to know, you were never alone. Every time you thought you reached your breaking point, I stepped into the cracks of your heart and held you together. Every time you thought you would fall apart, I kept you standing. Every time you believed you were forgotten, I whispered your name into eternity. Every time you lost hope, I placed a spark of strength inside you. You may not have noticed it, but you felt it, the quiet push that kept you from giving up completely. That was me. That was my hand. That was my love refusing to let you drown. And my child, I shielded you even when you thought I was silent. You didn't always see what I protected you from, the wounds that never reached you, the attacks that never touched you, the dangers that never crossed your path. You saw the battles you fought, but you did not see the battles I won on your behalf before they ever reached your doorstep. The moments when destruction was planned against you but never succeeded. That was my shield. The moments when anxiety tried to break you but didn't. That was my presence. The moments when darkness wanted to swallow your hope but failed. That was my light. Even in silence, I was fighting for you. My beloved one, the suffering you endured alone was never actually endured alone. I was in the quiet room with you. I was in the car when you cried behind the wheel. I was standing beside you when you felt abandoned. I was surrounding you when your thoughts spiraled. I was holding you when you fell to your knees. And I never stopped holding you. You are not forgotten. You are not unseen. You are not unheard. You are not abandoned. You are mine. Right, amen. My hope is anchored in Christ alone if your faith rests securely in Him. My child, I need you to breathe for a moment and let my word settle deeply into the places where your loneliness has lived for far too long. I am coming to speak directly into the battles you fought in silence, the nights you cried until your pillow was wet, the seasons where you felt broken in ways you didn't know how to explain. I am coming for the nights when the world slept and you lay awake, staring into the darkness, feeling like your heart was carrying more than it should. You whispered into the night, wondering if I heard you, wondering if anyone cared, wondering if your tears mattered. And I tell you now, my beloved one, those tears were never overlooked. Those quiet cries were collected in my hands. Those trembling breaths were heard by heaven. You were not crying alone. I was sitting beside you, with my arms wrapped around you, even when you could not feel me. I was the warmth that came over you when you had no strength left. I was the stillness that rested on you when your spirit was shaking. You thought you were alone in those nights of sorrow, but I was closer to you then than in any other moment. You have walked through the pain of betrayal, wounds inflicted by people you trusted, people you let close, people you believed would protect your heart. Some of them hurt you without realizing it, and some hurt you knowing exactly what they were doing. Their words cut deeper than physical wounds. Their actions crushed parts of you that were fragile. Their absence left holes in your life you didn't know how to fill. And I saw it all. I saw the moment their betrayal pierced you. I saw the moment your hope cracked. I saw the moment you questioned your worth because of someone else's actions. My child, that pain you carry from betrayal is one I never wanted you to bear alone. When they failed you, I was still faithful. When they abandoned you, I held you closer. When they rejected you, I chose you again and again. And I want you to hear me clearly. Their betrayal was not a reflection of your value, it was a revelation of their brokenness. It did not reduce your worth. It exposed the places where they themselves were hurting. And yes, my beloved, I saw your heart break, the one you tried to hide behind strength. You carried it quietly, hoping time alone would mend it. But time didn't heal it because the wound was deeper than the surface of your heart. It was a wound that reached into your identity. It made you question whether you were lovable, whether you were enough, whether something was wrong with you. I watched the way you smiled on the outside while your soul felt drained inside. I watched the way you tried to move forward while pieces of you were still bleeding. You thought I was silent in your heartbreak, but I was the one who kept your heart from shattering completely. I was the one who whispered strength into your spirit when you couldn't stand the pain. You didn't see me, but I was there in the quiet moments when no one else was. And hear me clearly. The heartbreak you endured was not punishment, it was redirection. I removed what would have destroyed you. I separated you from what could not value you. I protected your destiny even when you did not understand the reason behind the loss. You have also known the ache of disappointment, those moments when life didn't unfold the way you hoped, when plans fell apart, when your expectations met silence, when you prayed for doors to open, but they remained shut, leaving you confused and weary. You felt heavy, discouraged, and frustrated, wondering if you would ever see the answers you longed for. You looked at others moving ahead while you remained stuck. You thought something was wrong with you because progress felt slow, delayed, and uncertain. But my child, your delays were never denials. They were preparations. They were protections. They were realignments. The closed doors were not a sign of my absence, they were a sign of my love. I refused to let you walk into something that would have limited you, trapped you, or led you away from the purpose I placed inside you. I know the disappointment weighed heavily on your heart. I know it made you feel like the future was slipping out of reach. But I was shaping you in that waiting season, strengthening you, maturing you, refining you, and preparing you for what is coming next. And let me speak into the exhaustion that has pressed against your spirit. There have been days when your body moved, but your soul felt tired. You functioned, but you did not feel alive. You woke up with a heaviness you couldn't explain. You felt drained not from lack of sleep, but from the battles within you, battles of doubt, fear, pressure, confusion, loneliness, and worry. You prayed, but you felt empty. You believed, but you felt weary. You hoped, but you felt tired of waiting. You carried responsibilities, burdens, expectations, an emotional weight that slowly wore you down. And even though you kept going, Even though you kept trying, even though you held on, your spirit whispered, "Lord, I'm tired." My child, I heard that whisper. I saw that weariness. I felt the heaviness in your soul. I was not blind to your exhaustion. And I tell you today, you are tired because the battle has been long, not because you are weak. You are weary because you have been fighting without rest, not because you lack strength. And I am here now to restore what life has drained out of you. You have felt stuck, trapped in the same season, the same struggles, the same patterns, the same unanswered questions. You wondered why nothing was changing, why things felt frozen, why you could not move forward. You felt like your life was on pause while everyone else's life kept advancing, and that made you feel frustrated and forgotten. But my beloved, you were never stuck. You were being held in place by my hand because the foundation beneath you was still being prepared. I could not allow you to move before the ground was stable. I was not delaying you without reason. I was positioning you. I was rearranging things behind the scenes. I was removing what could not go with you. I was building what you needed for the next chapter. What felt like stagnation to you was actually construction. What felt like delay was actually preparation. What felt like a setback was actually the slow formation of something greater. And yes, I know that feeling of being forgotten has followed you like a shadow. You questioned why others received answers while you received silence. You wondered why progress felt far from you. You wondered why blessings seemed late. You wondered why breakthroughs came slowly. And you felt overlooked by people, by life, and sometimes even by me. But I remind you, my child, I never forgot you, not for 1 second. You were always on my mind. I never stopped watching over you. I never stopped working on your behalf. I never stopped weaving your story together. I never stopped protecting your destiny. The timing confused you, but my timing is perfect. The silence frightened you, but my silence was strategy. What you thought was abandonment was preparation. What you thought was delay was protection. What you thought was my distance was actually me working behind the scenes so deeply that it required silence. Say amen. I believe He's working behind the scenes even when I cannot see the outcome. And share this video. My child, I know you're busy, and I'm sorry to interrupt you like this truly. I know your life feels full, your mind crowded, your time pulled in many directions. I know how carefully you choose what deserves your attention. But you cannot ignore this. Not because I want to demand something from you, but because I see something you cannot see yet, and love will not let me stay silent when silence would cost you more. The enemy is hoping you scroll past right now. Not with fear, not with force, but with distraction. They do not need to attack you loudly. They only need you to stay busy, to stay numb, to stay moving just fast enough that you do not stop to listen. That is all they want in this moment. Delay, distraction, dismissal. And I am speaking now because I refuse to let that happen without warning you first. They do not want you to see this, because what you are about to hear will wake you up. Awareness weakens their hold. Clarity breaks subtle chains. When you see clearly, you stop agreeing with things that have been draining you quietly. That is why this moment feels urgent. Not because you are weak, but because you are close to seeing something that changes how you move forward. I would not stop you like this unless it mattered deeply. I do not interrupt lightly. I know how often you are interrupted already. I know how precious uninterrupted moments feel to you. That is why I chose this one. Because what you don't see yet is already affecting you, and love does not wait until damage is obvious to speak. Please don't tell yourself you will listen later. I know that voice well. It sounds reasonable. It sounds calm. It tells you this can wait until you are less tired, less distracted, more available. But later has already taken more from you than you realize. Later has stretched into weeks and months before, and by the time you returned, the clarity you needed felt harder to grasp. I am calling you into now, not to rush you, but to protect you. You are being distracted on purpose, and you need to know why. Not everything pulling at your attention is harmless. Not everything demanding your time is neutral. Some distractions are carefully designed to keep you from noticing what is shifting in your heart, what is draining your spirit, what is slowly pulling you away from peace. I am not accusing you. I am revealing what has been happening so you can choose with awareness instead of habit. I see how full your life feels. I see the responsibilities you carry. I see the expectations placed on you. I see how hard you try to keep everything together. But I also see something else. I see how your soul has been targeted quietly. Not through crisis, but through exhaustion. Not through chaos, but through constant noise. That is why you feel tired in ways sleep does not fix. That is why your heart feels heavy without a clear reason. This is not random. Open now. Stay with me. This message is protection. Not from me, but for you. Protection does not always look like comfort. Sometimes it looks like interruption. Sometimes it looks like a voice saying, "Stop for a moment. Look. Listen." That is what I am doing right now. I am speaking because I love you, not because you are failing. I need you to hear that clearly. This is not correction rooted in disappointment. This is warning rooted in care. If you were failing, I would not be this close. If you were lost beyond hope, I would not be speaking so personally. I am speaking because you matter, and what is happening around you matters. Do not scroll past. What you don't see can still harm you. Ignorance does not protect the heart. Awareness does. When you know what is happening, you can choose differently. When you understand the pull, you can resist it. When you see the pattern, you stop blaming yourself for feeling off. I am giving you understanding so you can breathe again. I know part of you wants to turn away, not because you don't care, but because intensity feels heavy. I know you would rather stay comfortable than confront something unseen. But comfort without truth eventually collapses. I am offering you truth now so your peace does not rest on something fragile. You may feel tension rising in you as you listen. That is not fear. That is recognition. Something in you knows this moment matters. Something in you knows this is not just another message. That is why the enemy hopes you scroll. Because if you stay, you will start connecting dots you were never meant to ignore. I am not here to overwhelm you with information. I am here to sharpen your awareness. Awareness is gentle when it is guided. You do not need to figure everything out right now. You only need to stay long enough to see what you have been missing. Type "I believe, Lord," even in silence if you know He's working behind the scenes. You have been strong for a long time. You have carried more than most people know. You have pushed through seasons where you should have rested. You have stayed productive even when your spirit needed quiet. That strength has been admirable, but it has also made you vulnerable. Busy hearts are easier to pull than broken ones. That is why I am stepping in now. I am not angry with you for being busy. I am not disappointed in you for being distracted. I understand how this world pulls at you constantly. That is why I am speaking with urgency instead of accusation. I am not here to shame you. I am here to wake you gently before weariness becomes numbness. Stay with me for a moment longer. Let your breathing slow. Let your heart stop racing ahead. You do not need to respond yet. You do not need to decide anything yet. You only need to listen. Listening is already an act of protection. I know you are tempted to think this is dramatic. I know you want to downplay it to make it easier to move on. But hear me. The most dangerous moments are not the loud ones. They are the quiet ones where nothing seems wrong but something is slowly drifting. I am speaking now because I love you too much to let that drift continue unnoticed. You are not alone in this moment. I am here with you. I am not watching from a distance. I am close, speaking directly to your heart, because you are worth the interruption. Open now. Stay with me. This message is not here to scare you. It is here to protect you, to steady you, to help you see clearly again. Do not scroll past. Stay. What you choose to do with this moment matters more than you realize. My child, I see how busy you are. I see the full calendar, the constant messages, the responsibilities that never seem to end. I see how your mind is always moving, how your days blur together, how even rest feels rushed. I know you did not wake up today planning to be interrupted, and I am truly sorry for breaking into your moment like this. I do not take your time lightly. I know how precious every minute feels to you right now. Please hear my heart clearly. I am not interrupting you because you have done something wrong. I am not stopping you to accuse you, to correct you harshly, or to add more weight to your already heavy load. I am interrupting you because I love you, and love sometimes steps in even when it feels inconvenient. Love does not always wait for the perfect moment. Love moves when protection is needed. I know how hard you work to keep everything together. I know how much effort it takes just to get through the day. You carry responsibilities that others do not see. You solve problems quietly. You show up even when you are tired. You keep going even when your heart feels stretched thin. I see all of that. I honor that. And I am not here to take away your strength. I am here because you have been carrying too much alone. I want to apologize gently, because I know interruption can feel frustrating. You may feel like you don't have space for one more thing, one more voice, one more demand. But listen to me carefully now. This is not a demand. This is an invitation. I am not asking you to add something to your list. I am asking you to pause, because continuing without awareness will cost you more than stopping for a moment with me. Love interrupts comfort when comfort begins to hide danger. Comfort can be good, but comfort can also numb awareness. When life moves fast enough, you stop noticing what is happening inside you. You stop hearing the quiet signals of your soul. You stop recognizing when something is draining you slowly. I am interrupting you not to disturb your peace, but to protect it. I'm not blaming you for being busy. I know this world pulls at you constantly. I know distractions are everywhere, calling for your attention, your energy, your emotions. I do not judge you for responding to them. I understand how easy it is to get swept along. That is why I am stepping in now, gently but clearly, before exhaustion turns into numbness and numbness turns into distance. This interruption is not an accusation. It is protection. I am not pointing a finger at you. I am reaching out a hand. I am saying, come here for a moment. Let me show you what you cannot see when you are always moving. You are not in trouble. You are not failing. You are loved enough to be warned before harm settles in quietly. I know part of you feels guilty even hearing this. You wonder if you should be doing more, praying more, listening more. Let the guilt go right now. Guilt is not my voice. Guilt pushes you away. Love draws you closer. I am not here to shame you into attention. I am here to invite you into safety. I see how tired your soul is, even if your body keeps going. I see the weariness you don't talk about. I see how your joy has been thinner lately, how your peace feels fragile, how your thoughts feel scattered. None of this makes you weak. It makes you human. And it tells me that this interruption is necessary. I would not stop you like this unless it mattered deeply. I would not press into your busy life unless staying silent would cost you something precious. There are moments when waiting feels polite but is actually harmful. This is one of those moments. Waiting would mean allowing you to keep pushing forward without realizing what is pulling at you from behind. You may feel resistance right now. You may want to rush through this and get back to what you were doing. I understand that instinct. But stay with me for a moment longer. Let yourself breathe. Let your shoulders relax. Let your heart slow down enough to hear me clearly. Please support our channel. Our work is focused on bringing happiness into your life and deepening devotion to God. If you would like to support us, you can donate through Super Thanks. I am not here to overwhelm you with information. I am here to restore awareness. Awareness brings choice. Choice brings freedom. When you see clearly, you can move wisely. When you are unaware, even good intentions can lead you into exhaustion. I know how much you value being responsible, dependable, productive. Those qualities are not wrong. But when they begin to replace rest, connection, and listening, they become heavy. I am interrupting you now so you do not lose yourself while trying to hold everything else together. This moment is not about fixing anything immediately. It is about seeing. It is about recognizing what hath been happening beneath the surface of your busy life. It is about letting me stand with you in the middle of your day instead of only at the edges. I am close to you right now. Not demanding, not disappointed, not distant. Close. Speaking gently, even with urgency, because urgency does not have to be harsh. Urgency can be loving. Urgency can be careful. Urgency can be a sign that you matter deeply. I want you to feel safe here. Safe enough to stop multitasking. Safe enough to admit you are tired. Safe enough to listen without defending yourself. I am not asking you to drop your responsibilities. I am asking you to let me help you carry them. You have been strong for a long time. You have adapted. You have pushed through. But strength without rest eventually becomes strain. I am interrupting you before strain turns into something harder to heal. Please do not see this as one more thing asking for your attention. See it as the one thing offering you relief. I am not competing with your life. I am part of it. I want to walk with you through it, not wait for you to collapse before I step in. Stay with me here. Let this interruption become a moment of heaviness out of an answer. Let it remind you that you are not alone in your busy life. You are seen. You are cared for. You are protected. I interrupted you because you matter to me more than your schedule. I interrupted you because your soul is worth guarding. And I will continue speaking gently, clearly, and lovingly, as long as you are willing to stay and listen. My child, I want to speak to you clearly about what the enemy hopes you will do right now. Not to frighten you, not to make you suspicious of everything around you, but to help you see what is happening so you are no longer unaware. Awareness is not fear. Awareness is light. And light removes the power of what hides in the shadows. The enemy is not hoping to attack you loudly in this moment. They are not planning chaos or dramatic destruction. That is not their strategy here. Their hope is much quieter, much simpler. They hope you delay. They hope you dismiss this moment as unimportant. They hope you scroll past, tell yourself this can wait, and move on without noticing what just tried to reach you. Delay is one of their most effective tools. Delay does not feel dangerous. It feels reasonable. It sounds calm. It whispers, you can come back to this later, or this isn't urgent, or you're too busy right now. Delay does not raise alarms. That is why it works. It slowly moves truth out of reach without ever appearing to oppose it. The enemy does not need you to reject me. They only need you to stay distracted long enough that you never fully listen. They do not need you to fall apart. They only need you to keep going on autopilot. They do not need to steal your faith. They only need to dull your awareness. A distracted heart is easier to guide than a broken one. Scrolling past may feel like nothing. Just a small movement of your finger. Just a moment of distraction. But spiritually, scrolling past is often avoidance dressed as normal behavior. It is the act of moving away from something that feels weighty before it has a chance to speak clearly. Not because you are rebellious, but because depth feels uncomfortable when you are already tired. The enemy understands how busy you are. They see how full your mind is. They know you are exhausted. That is why they do not push hard. They pull gently. They add noise. They add urgency to everything else so this moment feels optional. They do not need to stop me from speaking. They only need to keep you from listening. Their greatest fear is not your strength. It is your awareness. Strength can be misdirected. Strength can be worn down. But awareness changes direction. Awareness makes you stop agreeing with things that drain you. Awareness helps you notice patterns you have been repeating without realizing why. Awareness brings choice back into your hands. This is why I am speaking now. Because something in you is becoming aware. You have already felt it. That sense that something is off. That quiet pressure that does not go away. That feeling that you are busy but not fully at peace. Those are not random emotions. Those are signals. And the enemy hopes you ignore them long enough that they fade back into the background. I want you to understand this without fear. The enemy does not have authority over you. They do not control you. They cannot force you. That is why they rely on distraction. They work through agreement. When you stay unaware, you unknowingly agree to carry burdens you were never meant to carry. When you become aware, that agreement breaks. They are not afraid of you becoming louder or more active. They are afraid of you becoming still and honest. Stillness reveals truth. Honesty exposes lies you have been living under without realizing it. That is why this moment feels important. Because stillness and honesty are close right now. Delay keeps you from connecting the dots. Delay keeps you from realizing why you have been so tired, why joy feels thinner, why peace feels fragile. Delay keeps you blaming yourself for things that are actually happening around you. Awareness shifts that blame into understanding. Understanding leads to freedom. The enemy hopes you tell yourself this message is dramatic. They hope you minimize it so you can move on comfortably. They hope you say, "This doesn't apply to me," even though something in you knows it does. Minimizing truth is another way of delaying response. It allows you to stay comfortable without being changed. I am not telling you this so you become suspicious of every thought or fearful of every distraction. That is not my desire. I am telling you so you can see clearly. Clear sight does not make you anxious. It steadies you. When you know what is happening, you stop reacting blindly. You may wonder why distraction feels so strong lately, why it is harder to focus, why quiet moments feel uncomfortable, why you instinctively reach for noise. That is not because you are weak. It is because something does not want you to sit long enough to hear what your heart has been trying to say. The enemy hopes you stay busy enough that you never ask deeper questions. Busy enough that you never pause long enough to notice patterns. Busy enough that you keep functioning without healing. That is why they prefer distraction over destruction. Distraction keeps you alive but distant. Alive but unaware. Alive but carrying weight you do not need to carry. I want you alert, not alarmed. Alertness is calm. Alertness is steady. Alertness simply notices. Panic cloud the judgment. Awareness sharpens it. I am not asking you to fight anything right now. I am asking you to see. Comment Jesus, you have all of me if you've surrendered your life completely to Him. Seeing breaks the cycle. When you see the pull of distraction, you can choose not to follow it. When you see the pattern of delay, you can choose to respond differently. When you see how noise has been used to keep you from listening, you can choose stillness without fear. The enemy hopes you treat this moment as optional. I am telling you it is protective. Not because danger is everywhere, but because truth is near. When truth is near, resistance often rises quietly. That resistance does not mean something bad is happening. It means something important is. You do not need to be stronger than the enemy. You need to be aware. Awareness brings you back into alignment with me. Alignment brings peace. Peace restores clarity. Clarity makes you harder to pull off course. I know you have a lot demanding your attention. I know it feels selfish to pause. But this pause is not selfish. It is necessary. You cannot pour from a heart that has been quietly drained by distraction. I am helping you notice the drain so it can be closed. Do not fear the enemy. Fear gives them more attention than they deserve. Simply refuse to stay unaware. Refuse to move past this moment without listening. Refuse to tell yourself this does not matter. That is all that is required right now. Stay with me a little longer. Let this awareness settle without panic. You are not in danger. You are being protected. You are not being attacked. You are being invited to see clearly again. The enemy hoped you would scroll past. You did. That matters. Not because you fought, but because you stayed. And staying opens the door for truth to do its work gently, steadily, and completely. Remain here with me. Awareness is growing. And as it grows, the pull of distraction will lose its power over you. My child, I need you to hear this with seriousness, not fear. Distraction is more dangerous than you think, not because it is loud or obvious, but because it works quietly. It does not announce itself as harm. It presents itself as normal life. It blends into your day so smoothly that you do not notice what it is slowly taking from you. That is why I am speaking now, with clarity and weight, because what is subtle can be more damaging than what is sudden. Distraction dulls discernment. Discernment is your ability to sense what is true, what is aligned, what is not meant for you. When discernment is sharp, you recognize when something is pulling you away from peace. You notice when a thought does not come from me. You feel when a choice will cost you more than it gives. But distraction blunts that edge. It makes everything feel equal. Important and unimportant begin to blend together, and you stop noticing what deserves your attention most. This does not happen overnight. That is why it is dangerous. It happens slowly, in small shifts you barely register. You fill every quiet moment with noise. You move from one task to the next without pausing. You consume words, images, opinions, information, until your mind feels full but your heart feels empty. Over time, you stop checking in with your spirit. You stop listening inwardly. Not because you don't care, but because you are tired. Spiritual numbness does not arrive as darkness. It arrives as dullness. You still function. You still show up. You still believe. But you feel less. Joy feels thinner. Conviction feels quieter. Peace feels harder to reach. You begin to accept heaviness as normal. You tell yourself this is just how life is now. That is numbness, subtly and gently. Busy people are especially vulnerable to this, not because they are doing something wrong, but because busyness leaves little room for reflection. When you are always moving, you do not notice when you are drifting. When you are always responding, you stop initiating listening. You begin to live in reaction instead of alignment. That slow drift is what concerns me, because drift rarely feels dangerous until you look back and realize how far you have moved from where you started. Noise replaces listening before you realize it has happened. You still hear many voices, many sounds, many opinions, but you stop hearing mine clearly. Not because I stopped speaking, but because there is no space left for my voice to settle. My voice is steady. It is not frantic. It does not compete. When everything else grows louder, my voice becomes easier to overlook, even though it has not changed. I see how often you reach for noise without thinking. A screen, a task, a conversation, something to fill the space. Silence feels uncomfortable now, not because it is empty, but because it exposes what you have been avoiding. In silence, you notice your fatigue. You notice your questions. You notice your longing. Distraction keeps those things at a distance, but distance does not heal them. I am not condemning you for this. I understand the pressure you live under. I understand how this world rewards speed and constant output. I understand how rest can feel unproductive and quiet can feel unsafe. But I need you to see what is happening so you can choose differently, not from guilt, but from wisdom. Distraction makes you easier to lead without your consent. When you are not aware, you agree without realizing it. You agree to carry stress you were never meant to carry. You agree to voices that do not speak life. You agree to rhythms that drain you slowly. Awareness breaks those agreements. That is why distraction is so effective. It keeps you from noticing what you are agreeing to. I have watched you push through days when your heart needed rest. I have watched you ignore small warnings because stopping felt impossible. I have watched you normalize exhaustion and call it strength. That breaks my heart, not because you are weak, but because you are precious. You were not created to live constantly overwhelmed. You were created to live connected. The danger of distraction is not that it pulls you away all at once. It is that it slowly replaces depth with surface. Rare becomes quick. Listening becomes rare. Decisions become reactive. You still love me, but you do not linger with me. Relationship becomes something you fit in instead of something you live from. That shift changes everything. You may wonder why it feels harder to sense my guidance lately. Why choices feel more confusing. Why peace feels fragile. This is not because I am distant. It is because your attention hath been scattered. Scattered attention makes everything feel unclear. Focus restores clarity. I want you to understand that discernment needs quiet to function. Just as your body needs rest to heal, your spirit needs stillness to sense truth. When stillness disappears, discernment weakens. You begin to rely on logic alone, on habit alone, on what feels urgent instead of what is wise. That is not because you are failing. It is because you are overloaded. Lies trains you to react instead of reflect. It trains you to respond immediately instead of listening deeply. Over time, you stop asking, "Is this from me?" and start asking, "What do I need to do next?" That shift seems small, but it changes how you live. You become driven by demand instead of guided by truth. I am speaking with deep seriousness now because I do not want you to lose your sensitivity. Sensitivity is not weakness. It is a gift. It allows you to sense when something is off before it becomes obvious. It allows you to feel my leading gently. Distraction hardens sensitivity without you noticing. It numbs with one's alive. You have felt this numbness trying to settle. That is why this message caught your attention. Something in you knew you needed to stop. That is not coincidence. That is your spirit responding to truth before numbness could deepen. I am not asking you to remove all noise from your life. I am asking you to stop letting noise replace listening. I am asking you to create space again, even small space, where you are not consuming, not reacting, not performing. Space where you can simply be with me. This is not about doing more. It is about noticing more. Noticing when your heart feels heavy. Noticing when your peace feels thin. Noticing when you are moving too fast to feel. These are not signs of failure. They are invitations to return. I want you to feel the seriousness of this without feeling afraid. Fear paralyzes. Awareness strengthens. I am not warning you because something terrible is about to happen. I am warning you because something subtle has been happening, and now is the right time to stop it. You are not lost. You are drifting, and drifting can be corrected. All it takes is attention. All it takes is willingness to pause. All it takes is listening again. Stay with me here. Let this truth sink in gently. You do not need to fix everything today. You do not need to change your whole life at once. You only need to see clearly what distraction has been doing so you can choose presence again. I am with you in this. I am not watching from a distance. I am close, steady, patient. I am speaking because I love you too much to let numbness settle in quietly. Listen now, not with fear, but with honesty. Your discernment can be sharpened again. Your sensitivity can be restored. Your peace can deepen. But it begins by seeing distraction for what it is and choosing to stay present with me instead. Remain here. Let the noise fall back for a moment. Let your heart breathe. This seriousness is not meant to weigh you down. It is meant to wake you up gently, so you can live fully awake again. My child, I need to lift a heavy weight from your heart right now. You are not too busy. You are not failing because your schedule is full. You are not disappointing me because your days feel crowded. Let go of that shame. It does not come from me. What you are experiencing is not a lack of devotion. It is something else entirely. You are being pulled, quietly and persistently, and that pull has made everything feel heavier than it should. I see how often you blame yourself. You tell yourself that if you cared more, you would slow down. If you were stronger, you would focus better. If you were more disciplined, you would feel closer to me. The voice accusing you is not truth. It ignores what has really been happening. Busyness is not the problem. The problem is the unseen pull on your attention that has been working beneath the surface of your life. There is a difference between responsibility and distraction, and I want you to understand it clearly. Responsibility comes from love and purpose. It has weight, but it also has meaning. Distraction steals weight and meaning alike. Responsibility may tire you, but it does not hollow you out. Distraction leaves you exhausted in ways rest does not repair. You have been confusing the two, and that confusion has made you feel guilty for things you should be aware of instead. You have responsibilities I placed in your life. People you care for. Work you must do. Choices you must make. I am not asking you to abandon those things. I am not criticizing your effort. I see your faithfulness in showing up. But alongside responsibility, there has been a quiet pull that does not come from me. A pull that fragments your attention. A pull that fills every empty space with noise. A pull that keeps you from resting even when your body stops moving. That pull is why you feel tired even when you sleep. That pull is why your mind feels crowded even in quiet rooms. That pull is why prayer feels harder to enter and silence feels uncomfortable. This is not because you are weak. It is because something hath been competing for your attention constantly, and competition always creates strain. Say amen. You restored my joy if God has turned your sorrow